on the show this week, Orbea dropped their brand new Ois.
Yep, and the Scott Genius gets a makeover.
And YT released their first ever gravel bike.
And we're taking a look at the new 2023 bikes from Mondraker.
Well, today we're going to be talking about kids tech because, well, it's just seriously good and there's a lot of it actually. And I've brought a dad along. This is Chris Swift from EMBN. Yeah. So you actually have some hands-on with this sort of stuff. What
dad of 3 boys, so obviously mountain biking's a big part of my life too. So getting those guys out on bike was super important straight away, really. So and all that recent tech has made it so much better than it was when when I had my first son, 11 years ago. Back riding them with him is totally different to what it is, this past weekend.
So what are you loving like in the last year or so?
Obviously, coming from EMBN, the e-bike has been a massive help getting those kids out.
E-bikes,
exactly,
but keep you in business.
Every single ride I used to go on back, say 10 years ago, was hard work. It's the typical dad stuff. Oh, my legs are tired, I'm hungry, I want to go home. But now with the e-bike, couple of elastic tow ropes, you got kid seats on, on the front. I can take literally all 3 of my boys out and there's not a complaint from one of them. And they got smiles on their faces, even at the end of the ride.
Yeah, those shotguns that you've been using, they look spot on. That's what Blake and Neil use as well.
Oh yeah, it's a definite game changer, having that kid up front. And obviously you can do it on a normal mountain bike, but when you are dragging, a kid on the handlebars around and towing another kid along, it is hard work, and obviously with the e-bike it makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, I think there's like a sort of a misconception that these kids need to really suffer through with basic stuff. Yeah. And I'm not saying that kids need high-tech, top-of-the-range stuff. They don't. But you've got to appreciate that they are smaller, weaker, they've got softer bones, and if you can make things lighter and easier for them, then it's safer, but it's also more likely to get them into it. Well, I don't have kids to shove in your face like most parents do. Tech is my baby, so I'm going to shove some photos of tech in your face right now. Something that I'm loving at the moment is proper miniature kit. So check out the Troy Lee Youth Collection this year. They're just miniature humans, they've got miniature clothes, knee pads, helmets, also something from Camelback. I'm loving their kids hydration packs. There's basically like a mini mule called the Kids Mule. It's a 1.5 litre water reserve, which I think is a great idea because kids riding along will struggle to get bottles out of their bikes if their bike can even fit a bottle cage. So this is a great alternative. I
think the amount of food as well the kids tend to eat out on a ride is mind-blowing as well. I'm constantly having to have a full backpack, full of food and drink. So that, definitely be a good one for sure.
And miniature helmets as well, proper ones, not super heavy things that are going to have their heads sort of flopping around. So check out the POC helmets. These are so cool. They're just like the miniature adult ones. And the glasses as well are just making kids look like the coolest little dudes on the street. They're even doing jerseys and shorts. And check out this gilet. It's Prima Loft. It's a thermal gilet, reversible. I'm jealous of that. I want that in adult size straight away. I'd probably actually fit the kid size.
That's crazy.
But my favorite bit of tech has got to be the balance bike because this is arguably what's getting kids riding properly and quickly. And it's arguably responsible for bringing Jackson Goldston to us.
I remember those old clips of him sending it on his
exactly.
On his bike.
If you don't remember him, you've got to Google it because he did a little video riding to school, didn't he? And he was sending little flips, and now he won the 2021 Downhill World Championships. He's been overall winner 2 years in a row lately, and he's just so good. And do you remember that section of him from the kids section in Return to Earth? The Anthill film. Check out Anthill on YouTube and check out that section because that section still blows my mind, and they're kids in Whistler. But here's some of my favorites on the screen. So Early Rider, I think, were one of the earlier guys to do proper balance bikes, and now they're offering wood ones, aluminium ones. They're doing proper bikes as well with gears and pedals too, but they're offering a fat bike balance bike as well, which is so cool.
That thing looks like it stands up by itself.
And then let's not forget the Marquez brothers doing bringing their sort of Moto GP style to Mondraker, and Also check out this little sort of Donahue Cycles little balance bike, which he's custom painted. It's got a little Hope headset in there, and he's got some custom bike packing bags from Ina. And also Apidura were doing some custom bike packing bags for kids as well, as a collaboration with Bomb Track. These aren't just a fad, but like people are actually taking their kids out on little bike packing trips and giving them their own little kit, which is just so cool. And I've just got a like big heads up to DV8 Cycles. Chris Devison, the owner of DV8, has been hand making his own prototype balance bikes for his own kids. Whoa. Out of carbon. So check out this little carbon mini mullet. He's also 3D printed some lugs and put together the blingest looking carbon 3D printed balance bike I've ever seen that I saw at the British Enduro Champs a couple of months ago, and it was like laced in Hope bling, and that's got to be the nicest thing I've ever seen.
I think I remember Specialized did the Hot Walk balance bike as well, and that thing I think it retailed at like £1,200, but again that was full carbon. It's pretty piece of kit, but I don't know if I'd be spending 1,200 quid.
maybe not.
Maybe £12 on a balance bike. Yeah, maybe. Well, you just get so beaten up as well. You just chuck them down, and I think it gets even worse when they start getting derailleurs and stuff. Yeah. They're lying them drive side down, smashing the ends off the handlebars. Skids, that's another dad hate as well.
Skids for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but speaking of derailleurs, actually, because I'm looking over in the corner of the room, what you can't see is a nuke-proof Cub Scout, and that thing is just like a miniature version of a nuke-proof Scout, and it's so cool to see with its little box derailleur. It's got like tiny little minions on there as well. I didn't even know you could get proper mountain bike tyres these days for kids on a 20-inch, I believe that is. It's
just a little scaled-down full-on mountain bike, isn't it? And I think the difference in the quality of the components as well, like proper hydraulic disc brakes rather than when I was a kid, I think it was just like those standard cable caliper brakes that you'd get. Yeah. You know, it didn't work in the wet. You've got proper suspension forks on there, big fat tyres. You know, everything about that bike is just shrunk down, isn't it?
What are your kids riding at the moment?
So he's got a Specialized Rip Rock. My other one's got a Specialized, I can't remember the name, but it's a 12-inch pedal bike, and he still loves his balance bike, and the other one's on a full-on 24-inch as well, Specialized.
Yeah, and you were telling me you swapped over some of the components to SDG.
So yeah, SDG, I don't know if they still do it, but they did do custom like kids pack. So it had handlebars, but they were they had a standard stem clamp, but the diameter of the end of the handlebars was skinnier. You had some custom grips as well, because I think kids, when they get on a bike, they must feel the grips are huge, and they obviously can't get their hands around properly. It'd be like us riding with toilet rolls for grips, you know, your hands would be out here. Absolutely. So it's little slim grips, which made all the difference. And it had smaller pedals as well. Yeah. Obviously pedals is quite a big thing for kids. These were like composite pedals, but they had proper pins in, not crazy ones that are going to slash us shins, but little tiny pins, but they're proper, you know, really good for off-road. And it's just those little touches, especially on the contact points, that are, you know, going to make a difference for kids, I think.
Yeah, guys, let us know down in the comments below. What have you got some kids? What tech are they loving at the moment? Has there been any game changers for you out there? Join the debate and share with the other parents out there, and let's help get on the tech train for those kids.
Let's do it. Right, time for some news then, and I hear that Orbea have launched out all new OIs, and this thing looks super fast.
Yeah, they say it's the fastest thing to leave their factory in however long they've been open for. Whoa. But if you haven't seen Neil's video over on GMBN, do check that out. It's the making of the OIs. And basically, we've had the OIs for a while. It's been previously 100mm XE full susser. They've had the OIs TR, which is the 120mm full susser. But they've laid down a whole new OIs model. This is built from the ground up around 120mm only, no 100mm version anymore. But don't be mistaken, this is not a downcountry bike, this is a race bike. So check this out on screen, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's replacing both those old models, as I said, but they've changed the rear substantially. They've gone for a pivotless rear triangle, reducing the weight, but they've also claimed that it's made it 12% stiffer. And although they've gone to 120mm travel only, it's apparently the same weight as the previous 100mm frame, around 1,740 grams a frame. So that will be a sub 10 kilo complete bike. Geometry, we're looking at a head angle of 67 degrees. So that's slacker than both the previous models, with a seat angle of 72.5, which is steeper than previous models. And the reach is about 20mm longer. So we're looking at 425 through to 496 this year. But they are pairing it with shorter stems, as Orbea say that longer reach and shorter stems will be more confidence inspiring, certainly indicative of what we've seen, the change of XC bikes lately, with geometry and increase in suspension. They will be featuring the brand new Akuo wheels that we've mentioned recently. And of course, the Mayo lets you customize the colors, almost endless amount of colors there. But I've got to say, check out the Tanzanite carbon version, which is as standard already, not a custom color. And I just think that looks absolutely drool worthy.
It does look amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so prices will start from a decent £2,999 fully built. So yeah, one to watch
well,
there.
Value.
Yeah, and then over in the world of YT, well, they've dropped a gravel bike.
Oh, what? Nice.
But it's a gravity-oriented is what they're saying.
Gravity gravel bike. That's a new one on me.
Grav, double grav. So check this out on screen. Basically, this is the YT Zepter. It comes in two builds at the moment. Both are coming with RockShox Rudy Explorers as standard. So I'm guessing this is going to be very YT. This is going to be marketed at mountain bikers having a gravel bike, maybe people who want to ride trail centers on their gravel bike. It's coming with integrated mudguards as standard. It's dropper post compatible of up to 150 millimeters in a gravel bike. There's room for 700C by 45 millimeter tires, which is to be expected. Geometry, we're looking at a head angle of 69.3 degrees, which isn't that radical in terms of gravel bikes, but I think it's the components that are making it a bit more mountain bike oriented. Speaking of which, you can get it built up for €3,299, which sounds pretty pricey for a gravel bike, but you've got suspension forks on there. You've also got a 2x12 SRAM Force electronic group set on there. So actually, that's not all that bad.
Some quality components on there.
What are you saying about a gravity-oriented gravel?
I don't know about that one. I was expecting to have a dual crown fork on there or something,
yeah,
and a big slack head
it's
angle.
Not.
But,
there's still drop bars on there.
Oh,
but
nice.
hey, it looks very whitey, so fair enough.
Cool.
And then we've got the all-new Genius, the 2023 model. Have you seen this?
It's pretty. Yeah,
internet.
it looks super slick, doesn't it, with that hidden shock and stuff. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that is the
steps.
big news with this Genius. So it's taking cues from the Spark. We've seen obviously the XC bike with the hidden shock that Nino Schurter rides. So check this out on screen. New Scott Genius is basically, it looks like the Spark, but it's actually uses a horse link, which is hidden inside that frame as well to drive the shock, whereas the Spark used a flex stay. But you still can access it underneath with that big old trapdoor. Even so, they've added an external sag setter to help you sort out your suspension. It's 150 millimeters in the rear as usual, but now it'll take 160 millimeters of fork out the front. There's a bit of an unusual model differentiation in that you have a Genius and a Genius ST. So the ST comes with a piggyback shock, and it's the non-ST version that comes with all of the levers, which locks out your fork and your rear shock. So I think the ST is what they're calling a super trail, so that's what you'd expect for enduro, whereas the non-ST, the non-super trail, is more like an all-mountain version that you might want to actually lock out your suspension. All the cables are now routing through the headset, although there is a hatch underneath will be helping people with those internal cable routings, even if that does annoy you. And they're stocking it with that integrated stem and handlebar combination, which I'm not sure how I feel about seeing flat bars and integrated handlebars and stems on an enduro bike. Scott? I don't know. Guys, let us know down in the comments below what you're thinking about this new Hidden Shock Genius. Are you liking the Syncross integrated handlebar setup on the front? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I don't know, it's quite a bold step, I think, for manufacturers to spec a stem length and a certain bar width, sweep, rise, you know, on a bike that expensive as well. It's quite limited. Obviously, you can change it all out, but
you can, yes.
I think it's just a big thing for manufacturers to do, isn't it? It's quite personal for me.
And then over in the world of nuke proof, they've dropped a few new components and some accessories. My favorite being the silver collection on the Horizon components. So check this out. Super shiny clipless pedals, flats, headsets, bottom brackets, all your usual accessories that they do with Horizon now in shiny silver. And also they've dropped a new linkage to mullet your 290 Giga. So if you've got a 29er Giga, you can now buy this link. You can add a 27.5 rear wheel. The link will raise the bottom bracket so that you can keep the geometry, although your chainstays will be slightly longer than the mullet version because it's set up for 29er. But cool. I think it's so cool that they're bringing that out. And then finally, they're also dropping some new dirt jump wheels. So check out these Dolos wheel sets. They're black anodized alloy dirt jumping wheels with 22mm internal rim width. They've got a strong 3x lacing pattern with 32 spokes, and the hub has 24 points of engagement, £350 a pair. Are you still into dirt jumping?
A little bit. I was going to say, it's quite a bold thing, I think, for wheels to be 32 spoke. It shows how far wheel technology has moved on. I remember back in the day, we used to have some, I think Halo, like the British brand, they used to do 48 spoke wheels, which are designed, they're like a takeoff of BMX, but for mountain bikes, obviously, in 24-inch, I think they came. But yeah, there are 32 spokes now.
It's so you think 32 is quite sparing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like cross-country for me. I'd always go for like 36 if it was for ultimate wheel strength, but obviously Nukeproof know what they're doing, and wheel tech has moved on so much. I think it's crazy.
32 is pretty standard on mountain bikes now.
Going to be a bit lighter than the old 48 spokes with the solid axles.
Maybe that's what they're going for. Who knows? And then finally in news today, Mondraker have dropped their 2023 collection. There's been obviously a few spec updates and colour changes as you would expect, but also a couple of models bringing that mind telemetry through as standard, so including the downhill bike, the Summon. But also the big news is the Raise, which was their most popular selling bike, their trail bike, which I think we saw Doddy ride in earlier in the year. And that's now available in aluminium. So check this out on screen. I absolutely, at a glance, couldn't tell that this was an aluminium version. It looks absolutely exactly the same as the carbon version. So it's their 130 rear with 150mm fork up the front. It's exactly the same geometry, just with that different frame material. Also, they have the Chrono, which is their hardtail cross-country bike, but now they've introduced a brand new Chrono DC, DC being downcountry. Currently it's aluminium only, but it's got longer travel than their standard Chrono, and they have 120mm forks, and the head angle is slightly slacker. From 70 degrees as standard, it's now 68.5 degrees. So a bit more confidence inspiring, less racy, and it will take up to 2.4-inch wide tyres. So if you're interested in those collections, head over to mondraker.com. Right, it's quiz time. So, Chris, you want to lead us in? Your first question.
Yeah, first question is kicking off with formerly known as Scott USA. Where is Scott Sports' main HQ based?
Do you know this one?
I think I do, actually.
No, don't tell. We have to wait for this. Next question. Scott caters for a number of sports genres, not just mountain biking, but what sport did they start with? And I'll give you a bonus point if you know what they made. As well.
Nice. Okay, last question is, Scott's new Genius design with that internal shock was first seen on their Spark, but before that it was seen on a different brand altogether. What brand was that?
Answers coming up at the end of the show. Okay, comments from you lovely people. Well, last week we were talking about pricing and whether we thought things were actually more expensive these days or not. And there was a pretty even split in the comments between people who just absolutely love the old stuff, people who love old stuff but update it with new stuff, which I think is really legit cool, and then also just people who love new stuff and have no desire to have old stuff at all. So what have we got for us?
We've got this in from Zachary Foot saying, I would say prices haven't changed all that much when factoring the quality of components. My bike is leagues better than an equivalent bike from 2012, but it's not top spec. If you want the top spec, I think you're paying way more now than you would do for a 2012 top spec model.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were arguing, that things are, the top spec is more expensive now, but you know what? The bottom spec is still better than 2012 stuff. Noon Yar says, one good thing about rapid tech development is that old stuff makes its way into the sale bins quickly and is still really good. Yeah, I mean, it would be, I
think you still still use all that older kit and still get some good, if you haven't got that tech on your bike, that stuff's going to be way better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got from Scott Thompson here saying, still riding my white 46 with a few upgrades, 1x11 drivetrain with a clutch XTR mech and an access dropper. I'm still really happy with it, even if I do fall off a lot. That's the sad thing about those upgrades. Still doesn't give you any skills about staying on the bike, does it?
No, but respect for updating your old stuff. Jared Shanshna says, something that was overlooked when trying to compare prices from the past using inflation is that in many cases wages have not risen at the same time. That is the whole issue with the current high rate. Yeah, that's something I left out. It's a fair point, is that, wages haven't gone up in the same rate as inflation, so things probably seem quite expensive. But yeah,
definitely. Last comment in from Pasgetti Boy saying, I work as a mechanic in a bike shop in Australia, and since last year the price of our higher-end mountain bikes have gone up by $2,000 in some cases. The wholesale price has grown dramatically, and we're making less on each bike we sell despite charging a lot more.
Oh, that's a really sad story to hear. I hope that's not across the board globally. But if you've got any experience in your own country, let us know, because we're here on an island here in Britain, and it'd be nice to hear what your experience is over in your country. So let us know down in the comments below. Are things getting more expensive? Top mods from you guys, and this one, I'm loving this one. This guy tried to spray paint the spring on his coil shock, and it didn't go down too well, so he just went full nerd level. So it's not even just about the top mod that he's done to his bike, it's about how he managed to go around this top mod, because he actually 3D printed a 2-piece clamp with an M8 nut inside so that he could hold it onto a drill and attach the coil to this piece and the drill so that you could get a nice even paint job as he dipped it in and out of an acrylic and polyurethane mix to blue coat his spring. What were you saying?
I don't know, it's a lot of work. I think I may have favoured a bit of fishing nylon and just dipped it in maybe and brought it back
but
out.
Then he can use his 3D printer. That's crazy.
I don't know, but then I don't know. It's a lot of work for a job, and then I wonder how good that finish is going to be. Obviously when that spring's compressing and coming back up, would it not crack the paint off? I don't know.
I think, he's gone for the acrylic polyurethane mix. It would be better than a spray can for sure. It might crack over time, but it will actually be not.
It's pretty cool,
terrible.
Isn't it? But it is full-on geek edition of how to paint
and
your spring.
I absolutely love that. More of that, please. More ridiculous ways to mod your top mod. That would be much appreciated. So that is from Adrian in Bavaria, Germany. So thanks, Adrian.
Nice one.
Well, Chris, it's the moment they've all been waiting for. It's those quiz answers. So, formerly known as Scott USA, where are they based?
Out in Switzerland.
They are, correct. Yeah. Well done, you knew this one.
I did.
And Scott caters for a number of sports, but what sport did they start with?
Ski poles. They actually manufactured the first one in 1958. So yeah.
They were the first to manufacture aluminium ski poles, where everyone else was on wood and steel at the time. So Scott's new Genius design with the internal shock. They've actually used this on the Spark, but we've seen it before. We've seen it on, do you know this manufacturer?
I did, yeah. Bold Cycles, actually. Back in 2009, they were acquired by Scott, so kind of taken their design off them and put it into use on their newer bikes.
Yeah, and it's looking real sweet. But that's all we've got time for, but... What is there?
We have got a load of new kit actually out on the GMBN shop. So if you want to get kitted out for these colder months, you've got hoodies in there, t-shirts, socks, there's all sorts of stuff in there.
There's all new stuff. It's all looking a bit wintry at the moment. Sorry if you live in Australia and are coming into the summer, but there are caps and t-shirts, and there's actually a 3 for 2 deal on some enamel mugs and some hats and mud guards as well. If you're looking for some stocking fillers, well, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
What's that?
Well, maybe a cap, if you're lucky. Well, thanks for watching, and do join the comments below if you want to debate about some kids' tech from this year.